Right now, while you are watching this, your roof is absorbing heat like a cast iron skillet left on a burner. Every single hour of every summer day, that dark surface above your head is pulling in radiation and pushing it straight down into your living room. You are paying to cool a house that your own roof is actively cooking. Here is what changed everything for me. A $7 bag of powder, the same compound the Amish have been using for over 200 years, can drop the temperature inside your attic by 40 degrees or more. Not with electricity, not with a contractor, not with a 5-figure HVAC system. With a bucket, a brush, and one Saturday morning. The first time I walked into one of those old farmhouses outside Millersburg, Ohio, middle of August, 93 degrees out, I stood in the kitchen and waited. No hum, no compressor, kicking on, no vents blowing. The house was cool, not air conditioned, cool, something different. Something steady, something that felt like the house itself was breathing. I spent 20 minutes looking for the thermostat before I realized there was not one. That moment broke something open in my head. Everything I had been taught about keeping a house comfortable in summer started falling apart, piece by piece, and it has not stopped since. Before this video ends, I am going to show you the exact technique, the exact materials, and the exact method that makes this work. I am also going to show you a NASA mechanism from 1959 that was quietly removed from residential building manuals in 1991. Not banned, not disproven, just erased. And I am going to tell you who erased it and why. Whether you are building new or sitting in a house from 1972, every single thing I am about to share applies to you. You do not need to tear anything down. You do not need permission. Let me start with a number that should make you angry. The average American family spends $719 cooling their home every summer. Just cooling. That is not the furnace, not the water heater, not the lights. That is the price of fighting your own roof. A brand new central air conditioning system costs between $5,000 and $15,000 to install. Then you pay $150 or more every single month to run it. Over 10 years, you could be looking at $25,000 to $30,000 just to push heat out of a house that should never have been letting it in. Now, think about this. Where does that heat actually come from? Most people assume it is the outside air. It is 95 degrees out, so naturally the heat creeps in through the walls and windows. Seems logical. But that is not what the science says. The Department of Energy confirmed decades ago that 93% of the heat entering through your roof arrives as radiant energy, not hot air seeping through cracks, not warmth conducted through wooden beams, radiation, invisible infrared energy beaming down from the sun, absorbed by your shingles, and re-emitted straight into your attic space. On a summer afternoon in most of this country, the surface of a dark asphalt roof can reach 160 degrees. Bill Updike from the Smart Surfaces Coalition put it this way: you can literally burn your hands on these roofs. Your attic hits 140, sometimes higher. That superheated air presses down through your ceiling insulation, and your air conditioner fights it hour after hour after hour. It was never designed to win that fight. It was designed to keep running. And that is exactly what it does. Roofs cover up to 1/4 of the total surface area of a major American city. Think about that. 1/4 of every city in this country is a dark heat collecting surface, and every building underneath is running an air conditioner to compensate. The Amish figured this out without a thermometer, without a laboratory, without a government grant. They figured it out the way most real knowledge gets discovered, by paying attention over generations. Their roofs are not dark. They use metal. They use slate. They use light-colored surfaces specifically chosen to bounce sunlight away instead of absorbing it, but they did not stop there. For over 2 centuries, Amish families have applied lime wash, a simple mixture of hydrated lime and water, to exterior surfaces: walls, barns, fences, foundations, and yes, roofs. It dries bright white, it reflects the sun, and it works in a way that goes far beyond what most people understand. Their houses are oriented with the long side facing north to minimize direct solar exposure on the widest wall. They build wide overhanging eaves and deep covered porches that throw shade across the exterior walls during peak sun hours. Their interior ceilings are high, not for style, but because hot air rises and a tall ceiling keeps that heat far above the living space. They use thick walls made of stone or heavy timber, materials that absorb heat slowly during the day and release it gradually through the cool night. Engineers have a term for this thermal mass. The Amish just call it building properly. Some Amish families build parts of their homes partially below grade, partially underground to take advantage of the Earth's natural temperature. The ground stays around 55 degrees year-round, regardless of what the air above is doing. Their homes use large windows placed on opposite walls to create cross-ventilation, a steady breeze that moves through the house without any fan or motor. Every single one of these choices costs less than air conditioning. Most of them cost nothing at all. And then there is the summer kitchen, a separate structure detached from the main house, built specifically for cooking during hot months. The wood stove, the canning, the baking, all of it happens in a building that is not connected to where the family sleeps and lives. The heat from cooking never enters the main house. It is such an obvious, elegant idea that it makes you wonder why we ever stopped doing it. I read a post from a man who lives near an Amish community. He said his Amish neighbor told him once, "We do not fight the heat, we just do not invite it inside." That sentence has stuck with me ever since. This is not folklore. In 1973, researchers at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory ran an experiment that should have changed American construction forever. They took two identical flat roofs sitting side by side. One was dark, the other they coated with powdered limestone mixed with water, essentially the same compound as lime wash. The coated roof dropped 40 degrees Fahrenheit at the surface compared to the dark one. The interior temperature beneath it fell 8 degrees. No fans, no electricity, no moving parts, just physics and a white surface. But here is where it gets even more interesting. This was not new science. Even in 1973, the Minoans on the island of Crete were applying hydrated lime to their buildings 1,500 years before Christ. That is documented archaeologically. The Egyptians used lime wash on the exterior walls of their houses and temples. It is one of the oldest known building coatings in human history. After the Great Fire of London in 1212, King John ordered every house along the Thames to be whitewashed within 8 days, not for cooling, but because lime is a natural fire retardant. The Persians built elaborate towers called Malkaf wind catchers and combined them with white-coated roofs to create passive cooling systems, so effective that Napoleon's artists drew detailed illustrations of them. When they arrived in Cairo in 1798, nearly every house had one. In the American Southwest, Native American women applied fresh mud to adobe rooftops every spring to maintain reflective properties and structural integrity, the same principle of seasonal reapplication that lime wash uses today. So why are American roofs dark? Why, in a country that spends $130 billion a year on heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, does nearly every house have a roof designed to absorb as much heat as possible? That question kept me up at night after I came back from Holmes County. I started pulling threads, and what I found was not a gap in knowledge. It was a gap that someone had carefully manufactured. There is an organization called the Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association, ARMA. Their members make the dark shingles sitting on your roof right now. And in state after state, ARMA has actively lobbied against ordinances that would require or even encourage reflective roofing. This is not speculation. This is on the public record. In March of 2025, in Tennessee, a lobbyist working with the roofing industry convinced State Representative Rusty Grills to strip the reflective roofing requirement from a commercial building energy code. The vote passed. Critics called it dangerous and deceptive. They said the new law would lead to higher energy costs and more heat-related deaths. Tennessee, one of the hottest states east of the Mississippi, now has weaker roof standards than it did the year before. Because someone who sells dark shingles asked a politician for a favor, Baltimore went through the same fight in 2022. ARMA lobbied hard against a cool roof ordinance, arguing that dark roofs were actually the more efficient choice for northern climates like Baltimore. Multiple independent studies showed that claim was flat wrong. Baltimore passed the ordinance anyway in 2023, but most cities never even try. Most cities never hear about it. The industry that makes EPDM, the black rubber membrane used on flat commercial roofs, funded its own research to declare that the benefits of reflective roofs were inconclusive. They also spread the claim that white roofs cause condensation and mold growth. Target, the retail chain, tested white roof coatings on more than 24 of their stores across different climates. The mold problem never materialized. It was a talking point designed to create doubt, not a fact supported by evidence. Think about the economics for a second. The global HVAC market generates $130 billion every year. The coatings and paint industry generates $200 billion. Hydrated lime is a natural mineral commodity. You cannot patent it. You cannot trademark it. You cannot build a subscription model around it. A 50-pound bag costs $7 to $14 at any hardware store in America. That is the real problem. Not for you, for them. Their entire business model depends on your roof staying hot and your air conditioner staying on, and it does not stop at the state level. Homeowners associations across this country have explicit rules on the books banning white or reflective roofs. There are documented legal cases. One case on a legal advice forum describes an HOA that actually approved a reflective roof in violation of their own written rule that said no white roof allowed. They knew the rule made no sense. They approved it anyway and hoped nobody noticed. That is how deep this goes. The very neighborhood you live in may have a rule written by people who never question where it came from that prevents you from using the most effective cooling surface known to science. A study published in Nature Cities Journal in 2024 calculated that reflective roofs could have saved the lives of more than 240 people who died during London's 2018 heat wave. 240 lives. And the product that could have protected them costs less than a family meal at a drive-thru. Now, if you already own a house and you are thinking this only applies to people building from scratch, stay with me, because this next part is specifically for you. You do not need to tear off your roof. You do not need a contractor. You do not need anyone's permission. Here is exactly what you do. Go to any hardware store in the country, buy one 50-pound bag of Type S hydrated lime. The cost will be between $7 and $14, depending on your area. At home, mix 1 part lime powder with 2 parts water. You want the consistency of thin milk, not paste. Stir it until it is smooth and uniform. Take a thick nap paint roller or a wide masonry brush up to your roof. Apply the first coat evenly across the entire surface. Let it dry completely, give it a full day in the sun, then apply the second coat. For a 1,200 square foot roof, your total material cost is between $14 and $28. 2 coats, 1 weekend afternoon, done. A homeowner in Texas documented this entire process on a building forum. Before treatment, his attic temperature registered 143 degrees on a digital thermometer. After 2 coats of lime wash dried, his attic dropped to 97 degrees. That is a 46-degree reduction. His estimated electricity savings that single summer, $1,200. His total cost, $14. When his neighbor asked what the white stuff was, he called it a special reflective coating. It was lime and water. In Baltimore, another homeowner painted his roof white in 2023 and measured a 24% reduction in electricity consumption over the entire cooling season. 24% off his electric bill for the price of a sandwich. Lime does weather over time. Rain and ultraviolet light break it down gradually. You will want to reapply every 2 to 3 years. The Native American women of the Southwest understood this seasonal reapplication was part of the rhythm of maintaining a home, not a weakness. For less than $30 every couple of years, you are cutting your cooling costs by a quarter or more. Compare that to $5,000 for a new AC unit that will need replacing in 15 years, while costing you over $150 a month to run. There is something else lime does that almost nobody talks about. It is naturally antibacterial, it is antifungal, it is a proven fire retardant. That is why King John demanded it in 1212. It repels mosquitoes. Wood-boring insects like the deathwatch beetle and the common furniture beetle will not touch a limed surface. You are not just reflecting heat. You are protecting the physical structure of your home with one of the oldest and most tested building materials in human civilization. But here is the part that truly changed the way I think about everything related to my house. And if you have stayed this far, you have earned what comes next. In 1959, NASA had a problem. Spacecraft in orbit experienced temperature swings of 500 degrees minus 250 in shadow, plus 250 in direct sunlight. They developed thin metallized foil sheets designed to reflect radiant energy and protect both equipment and crew. It worked perfectly. By 1963, a man named Harold Edgars started asking a question that nobody in the housing industry wanted to hear. What would this same material do inside a residential attic? The Department of Energy ran the tests through the 70s and 80s. The results were undeniable. A sheet of reflective foil stapled to the underside of your roof rafters, what they called a radiant barrier, intercepted the infrared radiation before it could heat the air in your attic. Test homes showed attic temperatures dropping 30 degrees, air conditioner runtime fell between 40 and 70%. A homeowner in Phoenix installed radiant barrier foil and watched his attic temperature go from 138 degrees down to 104. His AC went from running 4.5 hours a day to 1.8 hours. His July electric bill dropped $187 compared to the previous July. His total cost for materials was $54. The product is still available today. You can buy it at most home improvement stores or order it online. Search for attic foil, low E foil, or perforated radiant barrier foil. A 500 square foot roll costs between $30 and $60. You staple it to the underside of the rafters in your attic with the shiny side facing down toward the attic floor. Do not lay it flat on top of your existing insulation that traps moisture underneath and creates problems. Keep an air gap between the foil and any surface so the reflective mechanism works at full efficiency. Overlap every seam by 2 inches. One person can do an average size attic in 3 to 4 hours. No contractor, no special tools beyond a staple gun and a utility knife. Now here is the part that should keep you up tonight. Remember the fiberglass insulation already in your attic? The pink rolls made by companies like Owens Corning, Johns Manville, and CertainTeed, the 3 manufacturers that dominate the North American insulation market. Fiberglass addresses conduction and convection. It slows heat that moves through physical contact and heat that moves through air currents, but it does almost nothing against radiant energy. And radiant energy accounts for 93% of the heat coming through your roof. You have been sold a solution that addresses 7% of the problem and told it was the whole answer in 1991. Radiant barrier technology was quietly removed from the major residential construction reference manuals in the United States. It was not banned, no study disproved it, no regulatory body issued a finding against it. It was simply omitted from the next edition. Contractors trained on those updated manuals after 1991 never learned to specify radiant barriers. An entire generation of builders grew up not knowing the technology existed. Meanwhile, the insulation industry kept selling fiberglass bats, the HVAC industry kept selling bigger and more expensive cooling units, and you kept paying the monthly bill for both. A $54 roll of foil that cuts your air conditioning runtime in half was erased from the training manual, not because it failed, because it succeeded too well for people whose revenue depends on your house staying hot. There is one more thing I need you to understand, and this is the science that ties everything together. Your air conditioner moves heat horizontally. It pulls heat from inside your house and dumps it into the outdoor air. But on a hot day, that outdoor air is 95 degrees. You are dumping heat into a medium that is almost as hot as the heat you are trying to remove. That is why your compressor runs all day. That is why your bill climbs every July. A white lime surface does something fundamentally different. It moves heat vertically, straight up into the sky. NASA calls this mechanism radiative sky cooling. Even on the hottest afternoon of the year, the sky above your roof functions as a heat sink for long-wave infrared radiation. The effective temperature of that sink is between -50 and -70 degrees Fahrenheit. Your air conditioner is wrestling with 95-degree air outside the compressor. Your lime-washed roof is radiating heat into a void that operates at temperatures approaching deep space. In 2021, Professor Xiulin Ruan at Purdue University pushed this principle to its absolute limit. He created the most reflective surface ever manufactured by human hands, a coating that reflects 98.1% of all incoming solar radiation. The Guinness Book of World Records certified it as the whitest surface ever produced. Here is the number that made a $300 billion industry go very quiet. Covering 1,000 square feet of roof with this type of formula generates 10 kilowatts of continuous passive cooling power. A standard residential central air conditioning system operates at 3 to 5 kilowatts. The coating outperforms the machine by a factor of 2 to 3 without drawing a single watt from the electrical grid. No compressor, no refrigerant, no monthly bill. You do not need the Purdue laboratory formula to benefit from this. The underlying principle is identical to what the Amish have used for generations. The same principle the Minoans used 3,500 years ago. The same principle the Egyptians painted on their temple walls. Lime, water, a white surface pointed at the sky. Physics handles the rest. Combine the 2 lime wash on the exterior of your roof to reflect sunlight and radiate heat upward, and a radiant barrier foil on the underside of the rafters to intercept whatever radiant energy slips through, and you have a dual system that addresses nearly 100% of the radiant heat entering your home. Total cost for both treatments combined somewhere around $70 to $90. Total time, 1 weekend. Total electricity consumed, 0. Total monthly payment to your utility company for this cooling system, nothing. The complete system, roof cooling, passive heating, water, and every other household bill is laid out step by step in the Amish Home System. The link is in the description. But stay here, because what I am about to tell you next is the part that kept me up at night. I spent 30 years paying utility companies to solve a problem that a $7 bag of powder and a $50 roll of foil handled. Nobody told me. Not my builder, not my home inspector, not the contractor who sold me my last HVAC system for $12,000 and shook my hand like he had done me a favor. The Amish told me, or rather they showed me by living in a cool house in August with no air conditioner, no ductwork, no thermostat, and no electric bill. The knowledge was never lost, it was set aside. Put on a shelf, written out of the manual, covered up by industries that profit every single month that you do not know it exists. The lime is still at the hardware store. The foil is still on the shelf. The sky above your roof is still minus 60 degrees for infrared radiation. The only thing that was missing was someone willing to connect the dots and tell you, if you are the kind of person who believes that real, practical knowledge has been quietly pushed aside to protect someone else's profit margin, then you already understand what is happening here. You have seen it before in other industries. The pattern is always the same. A simple solution exists, it threatens a revenue stream, and somehow it disappears from the conversation. This is no different, except this time you know, and once you know, you cannot unknow it. I want to hear from you. If you have ever put a thermometer in your attic during July, drop that number in the comments right now. I want to see how hot it really gets across this country, state by state. And if you have already tried lime wash or installed a radiant barrier, tell us what happened. Give us the before and the after. Your experience is going to help somebody else stop paying a bill they do not owe. Hit subscribe if you want to keep pulling these threads with me. Next week, I am going to show you what the Amish do with their well water that eliminates the need for one of the most expensive appliances in your house, and the exposed internal memo from 1987 that proves the manufacturer knew about it all along. You are not going to want to miss that one.